Today is Wednesday, June 17, 2026. This is today's news briefing, World and Germany. First, the global headlines. Global story number 1, Iran situation escalates, affecting Hormuz Strait shipping and global economy. Tensions between Iran and the US have increased, threatening shipping in the Hormuz Strait, driving up energy costs, and triggering a global inflation and monetary policy response. The key points to watch are US-Iran negotiations, latest developments in the Israel-Lebanon conflict, Hormuz Strait shipping situation. Global story number 2, World Cup progress, economic impact, and global attention. The World Cup has seen intense competition, commercial controversies, and global focus on weather and safety challenges. Germany's young players are emerging, Croatia's Modric continues his legacy, Portugal debates Ronaldo's role, while multiple countries face travel restrictions, heat, and sponsorship protests. The World Cup drives tourism and business opportunities, but sponsorship controversies, e.g., Hyundai protests, may impact brand value. Team performances indirectly influence tourism in host countries. Heat mitigation measures, e.g., cooling in Scotland, are technological focal points, though no clear AI applications were reported. Protests highlight potential conflicts between sponsors and host nations, while international travel restrictions for teams reveal coordination challenges. Young German players' performances are expected to remain in focus, protests may affect match atmospheres, and heat mitigation measures could become key reporting topics. Global story number 3, EU expands sanctions on Russia, Ukraine war continues to impact global economy. The Ukraine war has led to further EU sanctions on Russia, triggering a global economic and geopolitical chain reaction. The key points to watch are further specification of EU sanctions on Russia, development of the Russian mercenary issue, changes in global energy and food prices. Global story number 4, changes in global trade policy and tariff negotiations. The global trade policy and tariff negotiations are showing new developments, but the details need to be determined through the analysis of multiple sources. The key points to watch are the impact of the UK tax ruling on the tax strategy of multinational companies, the German stock market's analysis of the SpaceX IPO and its impact on the future strategy of companies, Allbirds' shift to the AI sector and its impact on investments in the technology industry. Global story number 5, escalation of marine heat waves and industry protests against EU climate policy. The increasing frequency of marine heat waves and the protests of the German industry against the EU emissions trading system have led to a conflict between climate policy and economic interests. The key points to watch are the EU Parliament's response to the industry's demands, the German industry's negotiation strategy, the impact of marine heat waves on the global climate. Now, the main stories from Germany. Germany story number 1, German politics, surveillance, G7 summit, and social policy. German politics is currently focused on party surveillance, the G7 summit, and social policy, involving legal, diplomatic, and economic issues. The key points to watch are implementation of AfD surveillance in Bavaria, impact of G7 summit outcomes on German foreign policy, legislative process of healthcare tax reform. Germany story number 2, U.S. financial market and major bank movements draw attention. The current U.S. financial market and major bank movements are drawing attention, but the specific event details need to be analyzed through a combination of sources. The key points to watch are the specific details of U.S. bank policies, the impact of the European Central Bank's stable wage negotiation pressures, the change in Germany's cash usage habits and its impact on the retail industry. Germany story number 3, ECB interest rate decision and inflation pressure. The European Central Bank faces inflation pressure as the new Fed chair Kevin Warsh makes his first interest rate decision. The European Central Bank, ECB, is grappling with persistent inflation pressure, while the new Federal Reserve, Fed, chair Kevin Warsh is set to make his first interest rate decision. Markets are closely watching this decision, as it could influence global financial markets and the European economy. The German stock index DAX is cautious ahead of the decision. ECB rate hikes could increase borrowing costs, burdening corporate financing. Germany, a major energy importer, could be heavily affected by rising energy costs, which could undermine industrial competitiveness. The Fed's decision could influence capital flows in the Eurozone through exchange rate fluctuations. A stronger rate hike signal from the Fed could weaken the euro and exacerbate import inflation. The impact of technology is limited, but long-term AI could indirectly reduce inflationary pressure through efficiency gains. There are currently no direct policy connections. Energy price developments are linked to geopolitical factors, but sources do not mention specific countries or conflicts. Europe's dependence on energy imports could increase energy security concerns, but current materials do not mention specific geopolitical events. In the short term, the market may continue to watch the Fed's decision and the ECB's next steps, while DAX volatility remains high. If inflation data worsens further, the ECB may signal a stronger rate hike. The key points to watch are: result of the Fed's first rate decision, changes in Eurozone inflation data, energy price fluctuations. Germany story number 4, German retail sector expects World Cup boost. The German retail sector is watching the potential impact of the World Cup on consumption, but the relevant economic dynamics are more reflected in banking competition and corporate decisions. The key points to watch are: consumption growth during the World Cup, impact of BBVA's strategy, further impact of AO World's decision. Germany story number 5, Commerzbank takeover enters critical phase. The Commerzbank takeover process reaches a pivotal moment as deadlines approach. The Commerzbank takeover by UniCredit approaches a critical stage with the voluntary offer set to expire at midnight. EU Competition Commissioner Teresa Ribera is urging support for cross-border bank mergers. A successful takeover could consolidate Germany's banking sector and create scale effects, but may cause short-term market volatility. EU efforts to promote cross-border mergers could reduce regulatory hurdles but require balancing competition and systemic risks. Materials do not explicitly mention impacts on inflation or interest rates, but increased banking concentration could indirectly affect SME lending costs. Technological impact is limited, but digital transformation may be an implicit consideration for post-takeover integration. Materials do not mention specific technological details like AI or blockchain. Promoting cross-border mergers could strengthen EU influence on banking regulation but requires coordinating member states' interests. Materials do not mention direct geopolitical conflicts, but banking consolidation could indirectly affect Eurozone financial stability. Within the next 72 hours, UniCredit's offer outcome may be finalized, and the EU Commission could publish guidelines on cross-border mergers. The key points to watch are: final outcome of UniCredit's offer, EU regulatory developments, German banking market reactions. Finally, the weather. In the north, cloudy, 16 to 30 degrees, peak rain chance around 3%. In the west, cloudy, 19 to 35 degrees, peak rain chance around 6%. In the east, cloudy, 16 to 31 degrees, peak rain chance around 13%. In the south, cloudy, 17 to 34 degrees, peak rain chance around 3%. A light jacket is useful in the morning and evening, and an umbrella may be worth taking. That is today's news briefing. We will keep tracking the next developments.